Hi, and welcome to this two-part Solidworks tutorial for a toy gingerbread train set. Over the course of the two tutorials, I'll show you how to create a simple wooden toy train and a set of wheels to go with it. I'll also show you how to export decals to use in Solidworks and how to make trains move around a track in an assembly using motion analysis. In part 1 of this tutorial, all the accessory parts and the train carriages, plus the decals for this tutorial, are available to download from the description below. So let's begin. Before I create my designs in SolidWorks, I plan it out and I create all my decals in a vector-based program. In this case, I'm using CorelDRAW. You can use other programs like Adobe Illustrator to create the same sort of files. So here, I've drawn out all of the set's accessories, the track, and the trains. I also plan all the design's dimensions from all viewpoints. I then put aside all the individual decals I'll need for my design. I'm going to start with the train engine here. Start a new part in SolidWorks and sketching onto the right plane, draw a 22 by 26 mm rectangle from the centre axis. Extrude this mid-plane by 25 mm. On the front face of this extrusion, draw a 12 by 19 mm rectangle and use Move Entities to centre the bottom edge of the sketch to the extrusion. Fillet the sketch on the top two corners by 8.5 mm and extrude by 34 mm, unticking the merge result box to create a separate body. Fillet the edge of the extrusion by 1 mm to soften the engine front. For the train roof, sketch onto the top of the extrusion and use the centre square tool and draw a 28 by 28 mm square. Extrude the square by 5 mm, unticking the merge result box. To round off the roof, I'm filleting the side edges, only this time change the fillet parameters to asymmetric. This allows me to play around with the curve of the fillet. The top dimensions controls this edge. I want the fillet to start halfway, so change the dimension to 2.5 mm. The top dimension is already half the width of the roof, so I just need to apply the fillet to the other side too, to create this curve. Moving on to the train chimneys, back onto the right plane, use the centre line to create a 4.5 mm guide along the engine edge. From the guide, draw a 6 by 10 mm rectangle and fillet the top corners by 4.5 mm. Sketch a line down the middle and trim away one side, ready to revolve. Revolve the profile by the midline by 360 degrees and untick the merge result box. The revolve looks fine from this viewpoint. However, when I move the model, you can see that it doesn't meet the engine. To fix this, just sketch onto the bottom face of the revolve and convert the face entities and extrude this by 3 mm. This time merge the result with the revolve body. Back onto the right plane, sketch another guideline 4.5 mm away from the revolve and sketch a 6 by 8 mm rectangle. Use the guide sketch again to draw a 4 mm vertical line upwards from the centre of the sketch and then across by 5.5 mm. Join it up to the rectangle. Draw over all the guides with the line tool and trim away the outer and inner sketch. Revolve the chimney from the right side line, untick merge result and fillet the chimney's top edge by 1 mm. Just like before, extrude onto the bottom face of the revolve by 3 mm, merging it to the chimney. To make the chimney bodies slot into the engine body, I need to cut into it, so right click and hide the engine body and sketch onto the bottom faces of the chimneys and convert entities. Extrude cut the sketch through all, but change the selected bodies to the engine. It should highlight green like this. Now the chimneys sit into the engine body. Sketching back onto the right plane, draw a 2 mm guide from the bottom edge of the engine and use this to draw a 3.5 by 60 mm rectangle and extrude it mid-plane, untick merge result by 28 mm. Then draw another rectangle on the right plane. The dimensions for this is 18 by 60 mm. Make sure that it lines up with the top profile. Use the guide sketch to draw a 6 mm line and join it back up to the rectangle. Trim away the inner entities and join up the guides with the line sketch. Use sketch fillet to fillet the sharp edge by 1 mm. Next I need to add the holes for the wheels, so I draw a guide down here by 13 mm and inwards by 11 mm. And just repeat the process to the other side. Use the inside points to draw 5mm circles onto in the centre. I can then extrude this sketch mid-plane by 19mm, remembering to untick merge result as I want all these bodies to be separate. Now to add the magnet, sketching onto the back of the train base, draw a 12mm circle in the centre of the face and extrude it by 4.5mm. Again, untick merge result. Sketch a 10mm circle onto the extruded face and extrude this by 3mm and keep it separate. Fill the top face of this extrusion by 4mm. Now moving on to the guides. I need to add guides for the train wheels and a guide point for the path mate to be used in the next tutorial. Sketching onto the right plane, draw 4mm circles into the base. Then draw a 7mm guide line from the centre of the train level with the centre of the circle guides downwards. This guide will control the position of the train on the track in an assembly, and it will also be used to create a path mate. With the model complete, it's time for the decals. To bring in your own designs and decals, you can use photos or vectors artwork exported as JPEGs. Using CorelDRAW, I make sure that my document colour settings are in RGB primary colour mode. CMYK can be less true to the colours when rendering. From here, I can create colour swatches as the main body colours. Make sure your swatch has no outline, as this will be visible when you export it. Then go to Export and make sure your file type is JPEG. Check that the Selected Only box is selected, otherwise the whole document will be exported as one JPEG. I like to use the Pantone colour names for the file name so I don't get confused. When you click OK, a preview will appear depending on the software you use. Just click OK. I repeat the process for the other colours. Once they're all exported, I move on to the details. I've already laid out the decals that I need here. I can export these in the same way as I did the swatches, only this time I label them so that it's easy to remember where they need to go. With all the decals exported, I can go back into Solidworks and select the bodies from the solid bodies list that I want to colour. Select the Edit Decal icon on the right and browse for the lighter brown decal swatch and open it. When it opens, use Mapping and select Projection in the drop-down menu so that the window appears. From here you can drag the window corners and move it around to cover the model. You can also increase the decal dimensions here. OK the decal when you can see that it covers all of the selected bodies. I repeat the same process for the white and red decals. When it comes to the blue chimney top, I just select the faces that I want to cover and project the decal over it. Finally, project the dark brown decal to the base. Moving on to the more detailed decals, I start with the train cabin side and use projection mapping. Rotate the decal into place and check the width and height boxes so that it fits the whole face. To mirror the decal onto the other side, click into the selected geometry box and just go to the face and click on it. Make sure that you're outside of the decal window, otherwise the decal won't apply. The face edges need to highlight orange. Once it's applied to both sides, OK the decal. I add the other cabin decals onto the front and back faces using projection. Moving on to the engine, select the flat face of the extrusion. Go to Edit Decal and open the engine side. Select projection and rotate it 270 degrees, and instead of using fit width, input the width as 34mm with fixed aspect ratio ticked. Drag the decal into place, cornering it up with the cabin. Add the other faces of the engine to the selected geometry box like this, so that the design projects right through. Add the engine front decal with projection and resize the width to 19mm, again moving it into place. Onto the train base, I project the base sides decal onto both side faces. Finally, project the base front onto the front face. With all the decals applied, add a black plastic appearance to the train magnet holder, and then to finish it off, add a polished chrome appearance to the magnet end. The other two train parts are available to download in the description. With the front train finished, I can move on to the wheels. Start on a new part, sketch onto the right plane in the centre of the axis a 4.5mm circle and extrude this mid-plane by 28mm. On one end face, sketch an 8.5mm circle and extrude this by 3mm and merge the result. Fillet the extruded face by 4mm and repeat the same feature onto the other side. Sketch onto the inner face of the last extrusion a 5mm circle with a larger 21mm circle on the outside of that. Extrude the sketch by 2.5mm and untick merge result. Sketch onto the front outer face of this extrusion and draw an 8.5mm circle with a 13mm outer circle and extrude this by 3mm. Only this time merge the extrusion to the last extrusion to create the wheel. You can do this using selected bodies. Fillet all the sharp edges of the wheel by 1mm and OK the feature. To mirror the wheel onto the other side of the axle, select the right plane and select mirror. Select the wheel within the bodies to mirror and OK the feature. I need to add a guide to the middle of the wheel axle, as I did with the train, as this will act as a reference point to join them together in an assembly. Draw a 4mm circle onto the right plane, centre to the wheels. With the wheel model complete, move on to the appearances and add polished chrome to the wheel's axle. Finally, add a high gloss white plastic to the wheels. To change the colour of the plastic to match the train, you can find out the RGB value of a colour. Click into the colour swatch box here to open custom colours. Here you can see the RGB values of the current colour. Using CorelDRAW, I find the light brown Pantone's RGB value and type it into Solidworks. R is 2118, G is 164 and B is 93. OK the colour and apply the appearance. With these two parts finished, I will be able to create the assembly. Watch part 2 to see how to assemble the train set and accessories in preparation for a motion analysis. Thanks for watching this tutorial.